I wish I never joined the HOA board. Sov Cit in our community has been a problem for a few years, now filing erroneous liens on HOA board members' homes and community property. California, using a throwaway because I do not want this associated with my regular account here on Reddit. I'm gonna try and keep this as concise as possible. Highly restrictive HOA community. This is made plainly clear upon the pending purchase of the house. We require that the prospective buyer have a quick call with one of the 5 HOA board members to confirm that they know just how strict our HOA is, what the $450 per month HOA fee actually goes to, etc. This has been our SOP for almost 20 years. I know this sub has a lot of hate for HOAs, but we are fair, totally transparent with all operations, and rarely have issues. Our high HOA fee covers a lot of what most HOAs have problems with, such as front yard maintenance, painting of all houses, minor exterior repairs, and roofing. Other things like pool maintenance, security, common area upkeep, basic cable package, and high-speed internet are also included in the HOA fee. The net result of this HOA's work equals this is a highly desirable neighborhood to live in. Homes sell in mere days once they hit the market, and as stated above, there is not typically much in the way of issues/violations in the neighborhood. People know well in advance what they are buying into. I hope that is clear at this point. Over the years, we have continually had problems with a retired, somewhat well-off older gentleman. I think he's in his late 60s now. Mostly minor stuff like leaving his trash can out / putting it out too early, trash/junk in his backyard, parking overnight on the street, etc. His wife died at the beginning of the year, and the issues we have had with him have increased exponentially over the course of this year to the point now where we have threatened to put a lien on his house if does not correct the myriad of violations. A little more backstory. He stopped paying his HOA dues back in May. He cited financial hardship. We know it is BS because over summer he purchased a $60,000 plus Suburban. Since we are a gated community, we require all vehicles parked in the community to have valid and up-to-date registration. He put a fake license plate on the new SUV. It has no state. It says Society of the Sojourner, and he has FBI anti-copyright warnings on the dash of his car. So he's in violation there. You are allowed to have veggie gardens in your backyard. No HOA approval required. He put a comically large veggie garden on his side yard. We wrote him a letter that he needs to get rid of it or install a fence around the side yard that also encompasses his backyard. Needs approval for the fence. No biggie. Well, he has now gone off the deep end. Apparently, we are now threatening his property and livelihood because we are not going to allow his huge garden without it being fenced in. In the past few weeks, he has now filed liens against all community property as well as liens against all members of the HOA board. We, the board, is supposed to meet with the community lawyer today, but we are concerned about how much this whole thing is going to cost. Secondarily, one of the board members is set to put his home on the market in the next couple of weeks and now has to deal with a fake lien. What questions do you think we ought to ask the lawyer? Should we let our mortgage companies or homeowners insurance companies know about this situation? Update 1. We had a chat with the lawyer of the community, hired by our property management company, yesterday evening. He is filing some emergency stuff today and requesting to be in front of a judge within the next week, mostly a scheduling issue on his side. He will be doing his best to get the liens off the community property and our homes ASAP. Another member of his practice will be joining him in this, as they suggested to us that we just bring the hammer down on this guy and move quickly. As for the liens on our homes, he told us not to worry about it. They will be taken care of soon. So the Sov Cit guy, between late fees, actual amounts owed, daily fines, and current lawyer fees, owes us $11,500. If we end up having to go to court against this guy, we / him are looking at a rough total bill of $25,000 plus due to the lawyer fees, which of course Sov Cit will need to pay. As documented in our HOA CCNRs, we have a threshold of $5,000 60 days past due, where we will put a lien on a property. Our lawyer suggested that we send a demand letter to the guy telling him that he has 30 days to pay off the debt, and if he fails to do so, we will take harsh and extreme measures that may include forcing the sale of his house to satisfy the debt owed to the HOA. I will address some other items brought up in the thread. The garden on the side yard is roughly 25 feet wide and about 40 feet long. This would fit just fine in his backyard, but the side yard is south-facing, so it gets better sunlight. He has a garden about this size in the backyard already. We did get engaged with a neighbor of his several weeks back and asked him to check up on Sov Cit, try and talk some sense into him, ask him what it would take to get him square with the HOA. It went nowhere. Waste of everyone's time. Basically ended with a you. I do what I want on my property. So that's it for now. I can provide an update in the coming weeks/months. Update 2. TLDR. He's getting the help he needs. He is likely going to end up / may already be there in some sort of advanced care facility. For a visual, imagine a really old, much meaner version, including the way he dressed, of Walter from The Big Lebowski. The story is a bit all over the place and a bit long, but I promise it is worth a read. So our HOA's lawyer got all the liens removed from our properties, both personal and community-owned. The judge warned him that he was on very thin ice and could possibly end up as a vexatious litigant if he keeps trying to pull this stunt. So between the lawyer fees, the back dues, etc., come April-ish of 2018, he was in the hole to us for just under $35,000. We placed a lien against his property and decided to hold off on collecting on it as we wanted things to calm down, and we have plenty of money in our operating budget. We are not hurting for that cash right now. He did eventually build a fence around his gigantic veggie garden. He fenced in everything that he was permitted to do, like to the inch. His side yards and backyard is all garden. This may be shocking to you, but he did not follow the architectural guidelines and assembled the wrong type of fencing, both in the pattern of the wood layout and the height. He has like 9-foot tall boards. Oh, he also has a few chickens now at this point in the timeline. We do not allow the raising of livestock, chickens or rabbits, etc. in our HOA. So whatever. We figured we would let it be, but just send him a letter letting him know that he is in violation of the guidelines. He responded with a multi-page, incoherent rambling that eventually included him praising Trump and how he's going to bring order back to this nation and folks like us will be arrested. I fully acknowledge that this is getting ridiculous sounding. In reality, this is a man who could not handle his wife's death. Over the course of a few months, he turned his huge, very nice looking SUV into something you would see over at our /InfoWarrior rides. Whatever, add that 1-2 to the bucket of crazy. Late summer, some kids were playing with water balloons and hoses in the street, and a few balloons hit his car. Apparently, he came out screaming his head off at the kids, scared the shit out of them, and proceeded to scream at us at the fall HOA meeting that we needed to regulate the kids in the neighborhood. We had to shut down the meeting and walk away. He would not shut up. We host the meeting at a local library, and the cop on duty escorted him out. He was told to just leave. Fast forward a few into October, and he now open carries a long rifle as he is doing yard work, like it was strapped to him. Cops get called because, yeah, it is California, and we are not used to this, but also sort of scary. Obviously, he ends up getting arrested. He gets bailed out, and a new car is in his driveway. A minivan. It is his adult daughter and her kids. The daughter, along with her kids, knock on the door of a neighbor across the street and ask to speak about her father. Eventually, she calls me as the neighbor gave her my number. I give her the rundown of what is happening to her dad ever since mom died. She cried hysterically over the phone and kept saying, I know he was getting bad, but I had no idea of all his legal problems. I felt so sad for this woman. We're almost done trying to wrap this up. She comes to our next HOA meeting, December 2018, and explains to us that her father is back in jail, this time for finally getting pulled over because he did not have proper plates. Remember, he's a Sov Cit and had a concealed handgun. They're going to sell his house as she got some kind of POA on him and are trying to seek leniency from the judge to release him to an elder mental health care facility where he will live out his days. She went on to say that he experienced some crazy snap and rapid mental decline once mom died, and wrapped himself up in the far right-wing propaganda machine, and that it just chipped away at his mental health. He alienated the family, and when she called me, that was the first time she had seen her dad since her mother's funeral. Again, no surprise here, he was also turned into a hoarder. Not trash though, we were talking like tens of thousands of dollars of ammo, knives, survival kits, long-term dry food storage. I had a look at it. She invited me into her father's home, floor to ceiling with what I can only describe to be overly prepared for the zombie apocalypse. We do not permit garage sales, but in this particular instance, the board unanimously agreed to allow her to have a garage sale of everything. One of the neighbors even tore down the fence for free. At this point, according to the lawyer, she thinks that the judge will allow for him to be moved to a proper care facility. The house closed on Friday, and we now have our money back. So there you go, the saga of the venerable grieving man that became a mentally ill Sov Cit.